Hey, good afternoon.
What
and
an
welcome
intro.
to, isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
Can I tell them the name of the show?
No.
Oh, I'm going to anyways. Welcome to Freight Forecasting with Michael Vincent. I'm your host. I'm Michael Vincent, and he is not.
I'm not Michael Vincent. No.
Thursdays, 4 Eastern.
Standard time? I am Anthony Smith.
Anthony Smith, our lead economist.
Economist, yeah.
Economist?
Yeah, lead economist.
So
lead economist here at
He
FreightWaves.
economizes things
Yes.
here at FreightWaves.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so welcome to the show. If you're new, and hopefully we got new people, and hopefully we got people that are following. Oop, broke mic etiquette. Dooner. I have to say that every time that I break microphone.
Oh.
etiquette.
Oh, is that when you get a little too far away? Gotcha.
Yeah, or go past it. Like
Gotcha.
that. Yeah, it's not Dooner. I had to do it again. So the point of this show is freight forecasting,
Yeah.
right? And it's and we talk about topical issues, but also teach the people data sets to use, how they're interrelated, the different tools, visual, analytic tools, et cetera, that you need to freight forecast.
Right.
And when you're freight forecasting, you're talking about backcasting to find out why the markets are acting or conditions are what they are today.
Right.
Monitoring what they're doing exactly today, and then forecasting into the future. Really, you need those bases, right, to get
Exactly.
to move forward.
Exactly.
Is that the same in economy?
It's usually the economy is the same. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, the bad thing about the economy is not the bad thing. The analysis
Careful.
behind the economy is the data is usually very slow on the macro level. So
Yeah.
a lot of times we get data on a monthly
And then
basis.
it revises.
Yeah.
So on and so
the
forth,
revisions
which is fun.
really screw things up.
Yeah.
sometimes.
But it helps you to always be right,
Exactly. Just
which is the main goal of every economist, is it not?
Exactly.
No matter what happens, I said maybe.
Yeah. You can always say no one saw this coming.
Right. But today, specifically, we're going to talk about the topical issue. Really, is obviously what's going on in the world today,
Right.
with the coronavirus, et cetera, and how it's how it's affecting imports into the United States, and how that's really affecting surface transportation in the United States, the domestic transportation, but also really psychology and how people are reacting to it is having a big effect on what's
Exactly.
happening. Service less the imports and more really how we as a people are reacting to the news that we see are bombarded with every minute, keeping in touch with what's going on, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So with that, let's dig into this. I was going to build, and I'm going to build a chart that I posted earlier this week on LinkedIn and promised I would. So we will get to that. But I wanted to start with one that I had posted earlier and really talk to you about this and kind of dig through this. So if we could
Perfect.
throw this dashboard, the sonar dashboard up, and so what you're looking at here is we've got U.S. customs into the U.S.
Yeah.
Maritime imports specifically into Los Angeles, heavily dependent on China, right?
Right.
Large volume comes through there from China, but it's all imports into L.A. And then specifically maritime imports from China into USA
Right.
and LA. And so let's talk about that for a moment, because
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
see here that it is imports were coming down.
Right.
Obviously, you got this blue line where imports into LA have already dropped, and the green line is specifically from China
Right. And
coming in, and it's dropping.
yeah.
And then it seems to have bounced.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of like the narrative that we're starting to hear,
Yeah.
that maybe something's coming up. Maybe there's something in the works,
Yeah. Is
and
China back online?
Yeah.
Are they not? And I think that was the title of this when I put it out there on LinkedIn was, is China back online, right?
Yeah.
I mean, is it?
that-
What
that-
are you hearing?
I'm hearing that factory production is starting to ramp up slowly but surely. But it's hard because you hear these numbers. That's what China's reporting. And so that's why you need to verify through the data that we have here in front of us. And so
Yeah, right.
you hear things of these stats, you hear numbers coming from China. I take those with a bottle of salt because I don't know.
You keep your salt in the bottle.
I keep it in a bottle when it comes to China. And
Very
so
Excellent.
you never know. And so when we have data to back it and we start to see some upward movement, like we see there,
Like we see here.
Yeah.
Because it was a couple of weeks ago when you started hearing it. Well, they're up to 80% online, right? And
Right.
it's slowly coming on. So if that were true, this is about the time when we would start seeing it bump up,
Exactly.
right? So
Yeah.
maybe it is.
Yeah. And
see
so
what's going on.
And that's the thing. He said maybe it is because it's a bump up. It's not as and from an economist standpoint, it's too soon to call it
Yeah.
because it's just one movement, but it's a significant movement nonetheless.
It is. And to your point, it's one movement.
Yeah.
So more movements.
Yeah.
So the middle of this, and let me move this over here. I can adjust the size of these charts here so we can kind of see them a little bit better. But if we look in the middle here and we start looking total outbound, and to be clear, this is what we're looking at. It's the outbound international rail containers that are loaded coming out of Los Angeles, going to Anywheresville, USA. It's not a specific lane, it's Anywheresville. And we're looking at year over year.
Right.
So the blue line is this year.
Okay.
The orange is last year. So we're comparing last year to this year. And obviously the exact same time sequence. So Chinese New Year or not.
Right.
You're looking at the same thing. And so at its deepest level down this year versus last year, 64.64%.
Yeah. Significant.
Which is significant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Significant. But even at that, we didn't see a whole lot of change in surface transportation.
Right.
Right. And you would expect, but you didn't.
Right.
And so why is that?
Yeah. I mean,
because it's rail, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's going on the rail and then it's hitting other warehouses. And you probably saw it in short haul and so on and so forth when it got to its destination. But as far as long haul trucking and as far as volumes and rejects, it really didn't have that much of effect.
Right.
But to the point, we have a bounce here, Mr. Smith.
We do. That we do.
So what do you make of that? Is that a second indicator?
It's a second. So that's another thing. So in economics, when I make a call, I want to see more than one movement up, and I want to see it from multiple indexes. And
right.
So that's significant. And so, of course, I would want to see these two, sustained, because a lot of times for economists.
Yeah, no, this is at the very beginning.
Yeah. A lot of times economists will want to see and have the proof in their hands before they call anything. But this is allowing you to have a much earlier look at things well,
see, here's something that's interesting, and not to interrupt you, but I'm going to anyways.
Please.
It's my show. So if you look here, you've got this bounce in imports.
Yeah.
And specifically from China, still going down, and then bounce, right? So you've got a bounce and a bounce against a new higher low. Right? Which is the first signs of a strengthening trend.
Sure.
Is it not?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If it does it a few more times, then we've got a good trend going.
Yeah, we
right?
got some upward movement.
And that's what we really need to see in the China specifically.
Yeah.
Right? Is
Exactly.
it bounce against new higher lows and see that trend. So it's too early to call, really.
Consistent
right?
movement
But
upward,
it is, we're hopeful.
Right.
Cautiously optimistic.
There you go.
So this translates into this other chart here, which is the outbound international rail containers loaded out of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Where you see a double bounce.
You see that. Yeah. And higher lows, as you mentioned.
And higher lows.
Yeah. Yeah. And
so
a significant movement. I mean, it's a checking point. So
it is.
It's a checking point like, okay, my antennas are up. I'm aware of what's going on here.
Yeah.
And the other thing is you want to be able to, the powerful part of this is Vincent, when was this updated? The last data point? It was in March, right?
Yeah.
We're looking at March data.
Oh, yeah. No, so we're looking at the 10th.
Yeah, March 10th. So, and it is what, March 12th. And so this is very recent data.
Yeah.
And so for example, we just got trade deficit data, imports, export from the government. I think it's the U.S. Census Bureau that puts it out. Latest data set is through January.
Is that right?
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's great. It's granular data. It's macro level. But this is allowing us to look at what's happening right now.
So let's talk about the difference in the value in that, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, then why put it out if it's 2 months old, 3 months old?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it helps tell the story, but the story
Is it for your backcasting?
It's for backcast. You can backcast, and it's useful because now it's telling the information, but it's not going to be actionable information.
No, it's not actionable.
No.
Right.
It just tells the story of what happened, and then maybe this is how, like, when there's a recession, you could be in a recession right now, this very instant, but it's not going to be diagnosed until maybe months after.
Yeah.
So
gotcha.
It's one of those things where it's a little bit delayed. It's very great and it's good information, but when you pair it with something that's leading, that's right now, or you have something that's right now that can help diagnose the actual up-to-date near-time data. That's the powerful stuff that you need to freight forecast.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. Got you. So this next one here that we're looking at here, and I'm going to a point here, I promise.
What are you getting at?
Is during this same time when we saw these, and let me move this over a little bit further here so we got kind of, we can see these a little bit side by side. Okay, now here we go. So you've got international loaded rail boxes dropping, bouncing against, and starting to come up, bouncing against new higher lows. But you see this trough. You don't so much see that over here in this chart, which is also rail.
Yeah.
But these are loaded domestic boxes coming out of LA year over year. And so you can see that it was actually up a little bit in mid-February, kind of troughs. It's gone down, but now flattened.
Yeah.
And it has flattened during a trend where last year seasonally it was coming down.
Yeah.
So it's flattened. So
More domestic activity.
more domestic activity to me says we're draining our warehouses.
Yeah.
I mean, when you give those different the import volumes dying into an LA, and then further evidence of that with the loaded rail boxes, which are not transloaded, they're just put on the rail and move.
Right.
Those are dying. Then okay, imports are going down. This is not dependent on imports in the near term.
Yeah.
This would align with what the government reported in January.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
This stuff transloaded a long time ago in the past.
Right. Yeah.
And so we're draining warehouses.
Yeah, I would say we are draining warehouses. And there's actually an index in Sonar that I love to use. I don't know if we pull up a blank screen.
Yeah, awesome. Oh, okay.
Run off the rails, so to speak.
Yeah, okay.
But
throwing me a curveball here.
The good folks.
Testing my abilities. See, I can go right down here. This really cool thing called Add a Page.
Do you know how to use Sonar?
I do.
Really?
And I'm going to call this one AS. I'm going to leave the last S off.
How'd you know my middle name?
A cruel joke by your parents. Is your mom watching again today?
Hi, Mom. I don't know. I hope so.
All right, so I've got a blank dashboard here that we can paint whatever we want on here. So where are we going, Anthony?
So we're going to look at the Logistics Managers Index.
Okay, so what am I doing here?
LMI.
Chart,
Add a chart.
Or what? Okay, let me add a chart here, and then over here, let me add the ticker. So what am I putting in here?
LMI.WHCP.
And what is that?
So the LMI is a measure. So you've heard of the PMI before, the Purchasing Managers
Oh, yeah,
Index?
no, I know what the LMI is.
Okay.
I'm sorry. So WHCP is warehouse capacity.
Warehouse capacity.
Okay.
And so one of the things you're talking about is warehouses being drawn down. Warehouse capacity has increased substantially over the last month. So I think it was a 6.02 point rise over the last month. And so this is the first time it's ever been in the 60s. And so this is really telling us.
Well,
Like it's
no,
approached.
it didn't even hit that back
it's
in.
approached.
Yeah, it's approached but never broke it.
Yeah, and so this is very telling when we're seeing other data points, when we're seeing increasing volumes, when we're seeing a lot more domestic activity, where we're seeing fewer and fewer import activity. And so this really helps confirm that it's a survey that's sent out to North American executives within industry, and now it doesn't just measure manufacturing. It also takes into account the consumer side, so retail spaces as well, so upstream and downstream. And so it's telling us overall there is a lot of warehouse capacity. Warehouse is just being drawn down at this point. Yeah.
I mean, the highest point since beginning of 2017 was February 26th, 2017, and it was close, 59.6, but now we're up here. So capacity highest point in 5 years.
Yeah, I'd say
something like that.
Yeah.
So we're draining down our inventories.
We are indeed.
So I was talking to Zach Strickland.
Oh boy,
have you heard of him? The Sultan of Sonar.
I've heard this guy.
Yeah, troublemaker. No, this morning I was talking to him about this, about the domestic rail and so on and so forth, and what's going on, and is China back online and stuff. Right. He's a guy in the know of some things, and what he doesn't know he makes up, and people believe him anyways.
People believe him. I believe him.
Yeah, he's a very believable guy. He's got that face.
Yeah.
So he's saying that normally, on average, number statistics, right? There's lies, damn lies, and statistics. But
Yeah.
so 1.6 to 2 months worth of inventory
Mhm.
supply at any given time across across all kinds of different commodities. I
Sure.
forget what he was talking about as commodities, but I think it was specific to what we're talking about coming out of China, which is more consumer goods really
Sure.
than
Yeah.
anything else, and that's what we're seeing drain.
Right.
I would imagine. Because of panic buying, or what did we coin, educated doomsday preparedness buying, maybe?
Preparating.
Yeah, preparating.
Oh, they're preparating.
We'll call it preparating. Preparating buying is going on. And so if you look at these, if China is back online or coming back online, it's going to take what? Usually after New Year's, it takes what, 4 to 6 weeks
Yeah. It's
to
gonna
see
take some
that
time to see that
hit.
data. Yeah.
So if they've been online for a week or 2 weeks, we got another delayed because of this.
Yeah.
So maybe another 6 weeks.
Right. Right.
And if we've got 40% of roughly 2 months worth, we're going to have a couple weeks without some stuff.
Yeah, it's going to
possibly.
be potentially
Right?
a bit of a drain. Yeah.
A bit of a drain,
Yeah.
which is interesting. So, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully that bounce keeps going, but
Yeah.
it's an indicator, and it's backed up by a second indicator on the rail move that there is activity that is happening in the imports.
Right.
There's also, you read news reports of containers being quarantined,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that delays as well. But I mean, hey, if I can't get, a new toaster for a couple weeks to keep us all safe, I'll
gonna
deal with
riot.
it. I'll deal with it. I'll build a fire in the backyard and roast it with a stick, I suppose.
Oh, old school.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go old school. So this is the chart that I built and put out. And this is more domestic truckload,
Okay.
right? This is the domestic movement and what's going on in the United States.
Right.
Right? And so when we start looking at this is telling us what is going on. And what we have here on the left-hand side are all the markets in the United States, because I could have selected specific markets if I wanted to,
Yeah.
if that's what I was interested in, but I took all the markets in the United States because I'm looking for anything interesting that is going on, and it was not hard to find it this
Right.
time, right?
Right.
And so, and then I sorted it by the largest market shares, and we're looking at the outbound tender rejects are rocketing up
Yeah.
in the largest locations.
Right.
And that's due to, if you look at the chart here, the outbound tender volumes year over year.
Yeah.
So there's a number of loads being offered to carriers or being shipped around the entire United States year over year. And so the blue is this year, and the orange is last year.
Yeah.
And you can see this
That is
huge
a divergent trend right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're diverging in a huge, huge way. Is that an economist term?
It is now.
Cool.
You can
Take that off my mark.
There you go.
So it's growing great, and this 11,224 index is it's the highest we've seen since we've been measuring this for the last few years.
Right.
So the volumes are huge.
Yeah.
And so that leads to down here where we're looking at rates. If I can grab there it is, pull up my rates, and you can see that rates this year have crossed last year's rates.
Yeah.
They started dying, and now they're coming back up.
Yeah.
Right here. So rates, because what we're seeing is the drain on capacity over here. On this chart, we've got outbound tender rejects, which is the number of loads expressed as a percent of the total loads offered that are being rejected, or it's a strain on capacity. Capacity can't handle it.
Right.
Carriers have other options, or they just don't have the capacity. Right now, if you're going to offer, 3 weeks ago, you're going to offer a carrier a load, they're taking it.
Yeah.
Right?
Now they have
They
options.
don't have other options.
Yeah.
Now they got options
Yeah.
because there's a ton of volume out there. And so they're rejecting things, which is then bringing up rates. And you can see here, if I move this out a little bit away from the numbers, you can see that this has clearly crossed last year.
Yeah.
And it's straight up.
Right. Right.
And looking at the volume, these volume indicators and their movement, they're going up.
Right.
And so when you lay these together, outbound tender rejects leads price by about 7 days.
Yeah.
About 7 days. So you're sitting here at if I expand this out, I think you're looking at, what is the date here that we're looking at here? And it's not giving it to me because I got it year over year. But you're looking at about 7 days earlier. So this would indicate that rates are going to continue to rise.
Yeah.
They're going to continue to go up, and I think that's obvious to everybody right now.
Yeah.
This on the upper left-hand side will tell you what markets that's occurring in and where to go to get loads and so on and so forth. And if you're a shipper in that market, what are your dangers of falling out of your routing guide, et cetera.
Yeah.
Intermediaries looking at it both ways, really, trying to maintain those margins or increase those margins, et cetera. So it's valuable information to see it on a daily basis because it will tell you where rates are going and where volumes are and where to go get loads and if you're going to be able to find capacity or not as a shipper.
Yeah. So this is a very powerful dashboard.
It's extremely powerful.
Because a lot of times I look at your computer, Vincent, I spy on your computer all the time. I'm like, you know what? That's a nice looking dashboard. What is he looking at?
What's he looking at?
This is a powerful dashboard because it
only took me 3 years to figure this thing out.
Well, there's multiple points, right? You brought the volume. That's one. You have the rejection index. That's two. You have rates. And now it's not like you're just telling the story. It's great you tell the story. What do you do about it? You have the location, you have the where, and
you
so
have it right there.
That's a beautiful.
Tells you exactly what to do.
Yeah.
So here's my question. Talking about this effect that's going on.
Yeah.
We'll just call it panic buying. I hate saying that, but it is. It's panic buying. It's preparedness buying. People are getting prepared.
Yeah.
And that's not dumb.
No.
You should be.
Yeah.
So what happens? What happens when those inventories go away?
I think that
if China doesn't come back online,
increases the panic.
It does.
And that increases the panic. And I think that also has ripple effects for other consumer behavior because right now, the underpinning for consumers are, of course, going to be, besides their confidence, going to be their jobs.
Yeah.
And so what we've seen is, this is a little bit off tangent, but we've seen that the employment rates has been relatively low, just went down to 3.5 or 3.6, but that's a dated number. Weekly jobless claims are still low. The pace of layoffs are slow. But when we start to see job openings really start to diminish, when we see hiring freezes, when we start to see things like that, that's what's really going to start impacting consumer spending. And that's really where we're going to kind of see, I think, some issues here, especially on the consumer side, goods and services part of the economy.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. And so let's talk about 2 months from now.
Sure.
We're on the backside of everything.
Right.
We're on the other side, right? Which we all can't wait to get to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But seriously.
Yeah.
So we're on that side of things. So now what happens? All this preparedness buying.
You're stocked up.
You're stocked up.
Yeah.
We would expect I in my mind immediately says we would have a weaker jump in the spring.
Yeah, I think
truckload volume, et cetera.
I think potentially we're pulling a lot of stuff forward that probably would have waited or not really have gone to such an extent in the coming months. And so I'm anticipating the second quarter not being robust. There could even be a contraction, so to speak. But that's we're not going to see that until the March economic data, of course. And I think we're not going to see that until we see, of course, the buying trends of how long does this increase happen? How long does the volume spike? I mean, how long does the preparation purchases last? And so I think when we see that, that's definitely going to pull some prices, some inventory forward that we would have seen later on down the line. Right.
So that then speaks to, and you hear about shape of the recovery.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
U or V.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is the difference between U or V shape?
So I think
recovery, right? V is just more sudden and more dramatic.
I think so. I think that's
the other is
idea.
Slower. So you would see a slower recovery
because it's the pull forward. I think so. Yeah, especially from the consumer side of things. Manufacturing is a whole nother mess, but yeah.
Yeah, it is, and so with that effect, and I'm just off the top of my head, this question comes is so China comes back online.
Right.
We're still in preparedness mode, right?
Yeah.
We're still panicking, and we're still bringing
Mhm.
this in over the next few weeks,
Yeah.
right? And then, so during that time, you have this influx of imports. So we got to have it. We got to have it. We
Right,
got to have it.
right.
We got to have it. Now we're on the backside. We have it.
Yeah.
So then now, I mean, are we looking at maritime capacity coming back online during
Mhm.
this? Got to have it, and then they shrink it again
I
because it
think
gets
so.
soft
I
for
think
them as
so.
well,
Yeah, I
right?
think it's similar. Almost, it's not the same, but it might rhyme with the pull forward. Remember the
Yeah,
tariffs
yeah.
and everything got pulled forward just in
Right.
case. But now this is more consumer led, as opposed to businesses trying to get around these tariffs. Now this is the consumer side of things, where things we want need to be here because we're running out
Yeah.
and we need to prepare. So I think that's a whole other aspect of it as well. So I think we could definitely see some softening in the coming months as activity starts to come back online in China. But is
Yeah.
that demand still there? And so that's gonna be the
Then
thing.
that's the big question.
Yeah,
Right? Is it going to still be there?
right.
But and so you got to temper that with the different commodities, right? So
Yeah.
you really got to look at the data. Is what are people buying for
Mhm.
this preparedness,
Right,
which is obviously Purell,
right, exactly. Lysol, Clorox,
right?
bleach,
Toilet paper,
Yeah.
yeah, are buying all that stuff. And so where does that come from?
Mm.
Where does the packaging for that come from?
Yeah.
uh, and 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 so on and so forth, right? So
Right.
then that's where you can start to look into it. You got to dig into all those different data points to really start pinpointing uh, trade lane effect on different trade lanes and origins and ports and so on and different modes of transportation, right? So you got to go
Exactly.
even deeper. This is very broad
Exactly.
type of
Exactly.
example right
Exactly.
now. But this uptick is preparedness or panic buying or whatever it happens
Yeah.
to be, or whatever you want to call it. It's definitely that,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. And really, the race is inventory levels.
Exactly.
Do they get critical or not?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of it.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Because we're already impacting the consumer. We're seeing things getting shut down, shows
Yeah.
canceled.
Yeah.
So consumers are already feeling it.
It
But
is.
now, if we can't make those purchases, the alertness level goes up a couple notches.
Oh yeah, it absolutely does. Yeah, you go there and there's no beans on the shelf.
Yeah.
Panic.
Yeah. Now there's
Panic time.
problems.
Yeah. Now there's problems.
Yeah.
Now there's problems. Yeah, which is the psychology and things get a little bit crazy. Now.
Exactly.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anthony.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. 4 o'clock Thursdays Eastern, freight forecasting with Michael Vincent. I'll send out some more stuff on LinkedIn, and we'll have another show next week. Hopefully, we'll be looking at a second bump against a new higher low on imports in China actually coming back online. Until then, peace and love.